Meet Sylvia Ho, a lawyer who's got the legal info that business people need to know.
Hello, everybody. Today, we are going to talk to a banker, another banker. I've spoken to a banker before about basic information about how banks can help you. But today, I think that we could have a very, very spirited discussion and helpful information for business owners. The topic is things that bankers can do to help you that you didn't know about. And we have Matt Scott from Key Bank. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, good. I'm excited to have you. And I think that what you have to say will be very helpful to business owners. So, Matt, what is your position at Key Bank, is it?
Yes, KeyBank. I am a branch manager. And as a branch manager, one of my main responsibilities is to service all the needs of small business customers.
Oh, great. So speaking of secret things or things that business owners didn't know about bankers that could really help them in their business. I think one of the things that people didn't know about bankers is you leave the bank and you get to know the business, right? So how do you do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's kind of the most important thing is you can't really make recommendations unless you know the client. You got to know who you're dealing with about their business, how they do things. So absolutely, if I have the opportunity to go out and visit one of my businesses or potential clients, I love the opportunity to go see them in person at their business, see how they operate, and learn as much as I can about their business and their passions and where they want to take their business, so I can make appropriate recommendations and be as useful as possible.
Okay, so I am. Do you come to visit me? Can you process a transaction for me? Help me with my relationship with KeyBank? What do you do when you come and visit? Other than I think
Right.
some businesses would say the banker's here to check me out. Oh no.
No. So I mean, I'm not going to come out to your office and cash a check for you, but I would definitely come out and have a discussion and teach you all about the different ways that you could, say process that check transaction the most efficient way for you. Meaning. There's numerous ways of getting money into the bank or out of the bank. And having that conversation on explaining all those different ways and what makes the most sense for your business. I mean, it goes back to that initial conversation of understanding how you like doing things, what your risk tolerance is, what your schedule looks like, how far you are from the bank. I mean, there's so many things that can come into play. So we can customize your banking experience to make sense for yourself and your business and how you want to operate it. So no, I wouldn't be coming out and delivering your change order, but we can make that happen.
Okay, so one of the things that is really common now are e-payments, right? I want to get money in my account as fast as possible. Everybody wants that because we can have cash flow. We need to pay our employees. We need to pay ourselves. We need to pay our vendors. And so much of that now is we're in a transitional phase. Some people only do online banking, never see a banker. Talk about, if I never see a banker, what use is it for me to have a relationship with a banker when I'm just fine? I just, take a snap of every check that comes in and it's deposited. I'm good. What can having a relationship with somebody like you do to help me in the future or right now?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of things, so it's hard to think of exactly where to start with that. The the advantage of having the relationship with the banker, not only is it going to help you on the day-to-day, if you get stuck with a silly question, you can just pick up the phone and call, versus spending the time of worrying, am I doing this right? Am I not? I don't want to call the 800 number. I don't know anyone there. You can shoot an email, a text, pick up the phone, and get your question answered and move on with what you're good at, which is your business. Versus stressing about something. So, I mean, that's just the basic, but from there, to go to what you just said about, I can snap a picture of this check and I don't need to go into the bank. Part of my job would be to realize that, you know what, that's only going to work up to a certain point. Now you're wasting too much time doing that. So, hey, did you know that we have this product that's going to save you a half hour a day? We have this that can get that money into your account 2 days faster. By knowing your business and knowing, your day-to-day operations, those recommendations are going to save time. It's going to save money. And proactively, we would be having conversations about stuff that you might not be thinking about until it's too late. Do you have protection on your checking account in case there is fraud? Do you have a line of credit in case the cost of your materials or services doubles overnight to keep the cash flow going? These are conversations that you would have with a banker ahead of time. You don't want to wait until you're stuck on the side of the road and with a flat tire before you sign up for AAA. It's the same thing. In regards to forming that relationship with someone who you have that trust, who is going to advocate for you and make recommendations that are in your best interest.
So how do you, that's really good to know. One of the things that is really important to small business is having the appropriate amount of credit and to manage their cash flow and to control it. Really, you have employees to pay, you have vendors to pay. You need to pay yourself. You definitely need to pay employees. In all states, if you don't pay your employees, you're going to be in serious trouble if you don't pay your employees. In a lot of ways, in addition to the government, to the employee, to everything. So I'm a small business person and or owner, and I have some cash flow issues. Now I need to draw on that line of credit. When is it that I should be thinking about that? And how can knowing somebody like you help me with it?
Well, I think the first thing is knowing the appropriate amount of line of credit to have. A lot of times people will come in and just say, pick an arbitrary number that they think, and then that number may not make sense. I mean, the line of credit might not necessarily be that useful if it's only going to cover you for enough to pay your employees for 2 days. The line of credit should really be in line with your company's financials, and having someone like myself who knows the limit, the maximum I can get for, say, someone based on their financials, would become very useful. And then I could give the options. I could present options saying, hey, I can get you up to, say, $50,000 line of credit today, with no documents based on your banking history with us. If you need to go higher than that, we can do it. I'll get the application started, but I'm going to need X, Y, and Z from you to show that you have these assets, that you have these funds coming in. So it's really having that opportunity to answer those questions ahead of time with the conversation of, let's get this done before you need it. Because that's the most common thing is people come in, because they can't make payroll.
Right.
And it's really something that should be established beforehand. And I think that's another part of the bank, having a banker, is the proactive advice we're going to give in regards to following up. I have a list of clients that pop up in my calendar and will remind me, hey, have you talked to this guy in the last 2 months or 3 months? And we reach out and we have that conversation. Hey, what's changed with your business? What's going great with your business? Let's share the good news too. But it also allows me to say, hey, last month or 2 months ago, we talked about doing this. We never followed up on it. Let's schedule some time to get this line of credit done, or let's schedule some time to talk about, insurance, whatever it may be.
Right, right. I mean, I think one of the biggest problems in lending today is that businesses that don't have the line of credit that is reasonable are subject to being victims of predatory lenders. They mail, and it's very tempting when you don't have a line of credit, when you haven't really managed your cash flow, and you're basically, not really understanding how your business works, and you need some money. And what happens in those instances is that the business owner becomes personally liable at really huge interest rates. I mean, 28% interest rates, and you just can't ever pay something like that off. And you end up in a lawsuit, and you end up being, having your credit marred by something like that. So when would be, even if you're an existing customer, how would you go about having that conversation in terms of, say, your credit isn't that great, but you're trying to build up to it? What would knowing somebody who is a personal, representative from the bank do, and how would you work on it together to sort of move that business in the direction that's healthy for that and get a line of credit? How would you play a role in that?
Okay. Well, there's several things there. Just to start off with what you said, a lot of people do fall in the trap of receiving that credit card offer or in the mail and jumping on it because that's the only thing that's been offered to them. And credit cards can be a great tool for businesses if they're used responsibly and paid off in a timely manner and not used to fund large long-term purchases. The credit cards are great for day-to-day, operations. We do have better products than that in most cases, or ways of managing, I shouldn't say better, but ways of managing the credit card to where you're not going to be purchasing large transactions that you shouldn't be. And we can go into that in more detail after about how we can set limits on credit cards and get credit cards for your employees that allow them only to use it for gas or, only allows it for certain things. So that way you have the flexibility of the credit card with the protection of the credit card without the liability of, running up you're having one of your employees run out and buy a car on it. The better way is to have that conversation with someone that knows your business and can structure that and get the line of credit set up in conjunction with the credit card, because the line of credit is in most cases going to be 50% less interest rate at least. And there's ways of structuring that to where you're paying interest only or turning it into a fixed loan after a set period of time. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility that we have when people are willing to have that conversation and explore multiple avenues of funding their day-to-day purchases in combination with their long-term purchases in the most cost-effective way. What we don't like seeing is the people that only have credit cards, they run them up, they try to pay them off, they can't, then they're paying 28%, and it starts that cycle of debt that businesses and consumers have a hard time getting out of.
So at that point, it would be almost too late to come to you, right? So the best time is to do it at the beginning.
Well, the best time is the beginning, but it's definitely not too late once that cycle has started. We have other lending needs that maybe we can consolidate some of the debt, get it out of the credit card, get it into, that's where knowing the business's assets comes in. If we can do, if they have a commercial building that we could, base a loan off of, if they want to do it off of their own house, their own personal credit. There's lots of ways of looking at the overall bigger picture and more holistic view and seeing how to get out of it. But certainly we'd rather meet early and just
Often.
come up with a plan.
It's like
And
voting.
often,
You need to meet early and often with your bank. Why do you think that this is something that's unknown to business owners? Why do they tend to, I know so many business owners that rely on credit cards
Mhm.
and get into that cycle there. And the high interest makes it really, really difficult. Um, and and they get into a bind. Why is it that do you, in your experience, that business owners don't turn to bankers as a resource? And is that a myth?
It varies widely. I think people naturally are not very financial literate. It's not taught in grade school for the most part. And people, graduate. What's the first thing that happens? They get a credit card offer in the mail. And then that's the easiest way to start growing your credit when you have no other options or no other knowledge. So people get a credit card and they just start that cycle very young, and they stick with it because that's what they know. And then they start a small business and that's what they know. So they stick with what they know. And I think once they have that experience of coming into a bank, sitting down with someone who they trust, I think that's when they start to realize they have other options, and it can grow from there. So in regards to the myth, I think it's a myth that's easily broken once people see the value of sitting down with someone. It doesn't have to be the branch manager; it could be any banker in the branch, or even, even someone like yourself who advocates for businesses. Even yourself can have these conversations. Say, hey, there's more options than just the credit card. I think, but to get back to, why people don't do it. I think the largest part as well is people are really passionate about their business. They're passionate, whatever it may be. That's where their energy, that's where their focus, their knowledge, their expertise is going. And a lot of times they'll just close themselves off from the conversation with anything other than their business, other than the product or service that they're delivering. And until they end up in a jam, and then they call the lawyer or they call the bank. It's very reactive in regards to reaching out for education or assistance until they need it.
Right. Well, they don't call a lawyer unless they're in trouble. For the most part. I mean, I do have some really proactive business clients on my subscription plans, and that's why they're on those plans. They see trouble down the line. It's almost like, knowing a bank or knowing what's down the line is really buying yourself some insurance. The only thing is it's free, so why not use it and head it off at the pass and have the credit that you need when you need it, and not use it when you don't need to use it, and not take one of these offers. I've actually been involved in 2 or 3 lawsuits where, predatory lenders, and they were not small companies by any means. Predatory lenders got into the business, and every dollar that you make has to go toward paying interest to those predatory lenders. But I do agree with you. People get very, very caught up in the business, and they are fighting fires going from one thing to another. So it almost sort of makes me think that maybe having an audit of your banking relationship and all of your should be something that be at the top of mind for business owners to have an audit. Maybe, if I don't qualify for a line of credit for the business now because of all my borrowing, maybe I should, do something so that, a year from now, it'll be a different situation. Is that something you can help with?
Absolutely. I think part of working with a business owner, it's more than just, hey, I got you approved for this loan, or, I'm sorry, it didn't work out this time. No, it's forming that relationship to where you're proactively meeting with them on a regular basis, trying to solve problems before they happen, making sure they're in position. And then there's, to go back to your other point earlier about things that people don't know, a lot of people don't know that, I'll also go in and talk to their employees. We can, there's a lot of time and money wasted by employees that are stressing about their financials. So we have programs in place where we can go and teach employees financial literacy and help their employees the same way we're helping the business with their financials. We can help employees with their education, their needs, and get them on the right path, so then they can in turn not be at work wasting 10 hours a week on worrying about how they're going to pay their bills, and be more productive. So it helps the employees, it helps the business owner, and I think it's a great service that people don't know about. And that's the Key at Work program we have. But that goes back to having that conversation with the business owner on a regular basis. If when they're open for it and invite us in, we're able to provide all these great services that they never would have known even existed, that can really make an impact on their lives, their employees' lives, and just the overall culture of their business.
So one of the things that I would think that the two pieces of why they wouldn't want you in there, number one is time, right? They don't have the time, right? And then the other is, are you going to take something negative on it that's going to impact on my credit? So can you address both of those questions?
Yeah, well, I think the time part of it is an easy one to address, because spending an hour with me every couple months, I think it's a good investment in their time. It's an investment in their business. I think people probably spend an hour on a lot less productive things on a daily basis. So especially with, knowing all the products that we have that can speed things up. I can confidently say that when a business owner spends an hour with me, I could save them more than an hour's worth of time on the back end. And to the second part of it, hurting their credit score, the whole point is the exact opposite of that. We can prevent them from defaulting. We can prevent them from having maxed out credit cards, educate them on how the credit is calculated, so we can structure their payments to certain products in a certain way that's going to help their credit score, help their chances of lending, and their ability to grow their business,
Improve their cash flow. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So I typically the time concern is a very sensitive subject, for business owners, until they invest the time. That's typically only an objection I got to overcome once with clients, because then once they do it,
once they have the experience. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Next time I call, that's typically not an issue.
Right. Well, thank you very much. I think that that wraps it up. I think we covered the topic. Things that you didn't know that bankers can do to help your business. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about what I'm passionate about. So thank you.
Do